This is Dent Digest, the podcast dedicated to all things painless dent repair. From the latest techniques to cutting-edge tools, we dive into engaging discussions with renowned dent repair experts. Buckle up for industry success stories, tool reviews, and valuable insights from individuals who have mastered the art of eliminating dents without a trace. And now here's your hosts, dent repair gurus Ryan Shutt and Alex Kukulis.
What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Dent Digest live show. How you doing, Alex? I mean, we've been trying to have a show, but Alex is living the rock style life. I mean, geez, I'm gonna have to get Manny back.
Que pasa?
I'm gonna get Manny back.
I've been in Mexico.
Jesus. So what's going on, man? How you been?
Super busy, but it's because I've been gone. So I've been good.
Yeah, we are.
It's hard to get back into the swing of things when you're like.
That's what happens to me after MT.
You know? Yeah.
So I'm excited about going to bed. No, I'm excited about MT. I'm excited to see everybody. It should be good. A lot of really good little parties and get-togethers there, so I'm excited for that. Some really badass tools. There's some badass stuff coming out that's I'm like, man, why is it taking so long to get these tools out?
Right.
You know?
There's a lot of new stuff coming out.
I got a couple I want to talk about. I did get the carbon fiber window guard from VIP. I love it. It's my now go-to instead of the stainless. I really, really do like it. It's light. It does a really good protecting.
What's why do you like it more than the stainless?
Because it flexes a little bit, right?
Okay.
Like sometimes you get down in there and it's just too tight and you need just a little bit of space. It flexes a little bit to where I don't think it'll break the window. And I just think that it's giving me a little more space in there. Certainly with your Kratos tool.
Yeah. It's
because you need that little bit of space.
Yeah, definitely need that. But I'm sure it doesn't scratch the window either, like a metal one. If the felt peels, sometimes
I like
you'll be buffing a window, you know.
He's got the felt kind of rolled up on the edge so it doesn't peel. So I really do like that. And then what else did I get that's new? And I'm kind of dropping these a little bit so people can look into them for MTE. These new gear tabs, man.
Dude,
there's something awesome. Different about these tabs. I called Danny today and I said, I'm going to give you my feedback on these. They're different than anything that's in your tool box, in your tab box. The reason why is it pulls hard like a dead center tab, but it's soft. Dead center tab sometimes will bring you a really, really sharp high. And this is more kind of mounded, you know, it kind of mounds it from the side. I feel like it's easier to knock down. This is probably my tab of the year, and I'm going to call it right now. It's early in the year, but what I actually do, and I told Danny today, is I take the tab and it's got these little, let me go back to you can see the little cutouts on it.
Yep.
And what I do is I turn the tab just a little bit, just give it a little bit of a turn. And what that does is bring the glue over those tabs, and it really grabs, man. I love it. They're badass.
I forgot who's telling me about turning a tab, but
that was me.
It's supposed to like get all the air bubbles out, so you get a better pull as well. Like any air in it.
Something about just how it pulls. It's such a different kind of high.
Yeah.
The other thing I got was this from VIP. I don't know if you can see it. See how it's all these different color extensions. And if you like VIP, it has his end on it. You can't see a damn thing tonight.
Can't see.
So you get these. It's got his regular like octagon head, like his knockdowns. Make it big.
Oh, okay.
I'm not doing him any justice.
There you go.
But you can see the little octagon head, and then you have all these knockdowns. And what you do is I like getting away, certainly with the JVF tool, getting away from whatever you have there, working around. This works really well, and all it is really just a bunch of different extensions, so you can make it a bunch of different sizes. So I thought it was
you
a
could
pretty.
use that on a pushing rod too.
You could. I wouldn't. I would use this just for knocking.
Okay.
I like the steel extensions. The aluminum extensions scare me.
In case they break.
Then I ended up getting some of his new tips. Some of these are not released. They'll be released at MTE. This is his mini blending tip. Very small. It hits different than a standard VIP knockdown. I do like it. I think it's a little small for me, but it works really well.
It's kind of rounded on the edges.
Yeah, it's you almost can get a couple different types of hits out of it because of the edges being round.
Yeah.
You know, you can kind of turn the blending hammer or the knockdown around a little bit and get a little, if you need to just get this little sharp and you don't want to go to a different knockdown. Then the other thing that I have is his larger VIP. I was in love with even the next size up one of these.
Yeah.
I use that on PPF. So it doesn't make a mark in the PPF. This is exactly the same. It's just finer. So great job on that one, Peter. It does a really good job. You can see the difference in size there. But if you're working on cars with paint protection film, that larger one and even the one that's next size up from this works really, really, really good. It's my go-to PPF.
Yeah.
He does a really good job with tips.
I feel like that one, the last one you just showed, would be really good for a sharp eye.
Yeah.
You know, lay it down without.
I've been using them for a couple weeks. I've had them. I got them around Christmas time. I didn't even ask him if I could show them, but I know they're going to be available at MTE. I'll tell you if the tool sucks, you know, or I don't like, you know my feelings about Pro PDR. Right. So, I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see James Lee Mini Light.
Yeah, you're telling me about that. I really want to see that.
It's really nice. I'm
Stucky has one too that I'm excited to check out.
Yeah, the Stucky the bar on the ball. I'm sure you guys have heard. We had a loss in the industry. The last really passed away Christmas Eve. Benny Miracle. You know, he was a dear friend of mine. You know, he's been to my house. He's been to events. He's one of those guys that just truly love the industry. You know, he's definitely going to be a miss for everybody. You know, he was like a kid in a candy store when he would come to MT. He was crazy. So I want to put a little montage together for him. Just kind of run through it and give him a little moment of silence. And everybody, you know, the family's struggling. I talked to Keith today, and you know, it's sad. You know, it's sad for everybody just because he's going to be missed at MT. So I'm going to put this on for a minute, and we'll be right back. He's going to be missed for sure. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy how life happens, and you never know in this industry, you know, but he was one guy that everybody loved. So, you know, it's going to be hard this year, but it's life, and this is the business we're in. So But let's get to the good stuff.
Short, man.
It is, man. It is. We all learn from things, right? The guy that's coming on the show tonight is a special part of my heart too. You know, he's one of the reasons that I'm in the position I am. You know, him and Rob Kaysen, they trained me at the Wiz, and you know, they're some of the best. You know, I send a lot of people to Mike, just because I know what you're gonna get. You know what I mean? So I was excited when I was like, I got to get Mike on. I know he doesn't like talking in front of people, but he's gonna be just fine. It's my time.
Right. Shutt was telling me he thinks he's the best trainer for like any beginner. His delivery, it's his delivery.
Right. You know, we had a lot of fun. We went to his house. We did all kind of stuff back in the day. So, but let's get him on, get him rocking. And if you guys haven't heard of him, it's Mike Seawald from Gateway PDR Training.
Yep.
What's up, Mike?
Well, thanks for all the kind words, you guys. It's good. Hi, Alex.
How you doing, Mike?
I appreciate everything you guys just said. It means a lot.
It's true.
How long have you been
doing this all?
I started with the Wiz in 93. I started teaching for them in 95, and I've been teaching ever since.
Wow.
So when you started that, what made you kind of sit back and you were like, you know what, I want to start training guys?
Well, you know, it was pretty tough back then. They just taught us to do, well, kind of halfway taught us to do a 1-inch crease and a quarter-size dent, which I could not do when I left training. And they sent me to New York, and that's a bad combination there. So anyway, it was brutal, to be honest with you. And I just, you know, my goal is to make sure that doesn't happen to anybody else. You know, there's no sense in the guys going through all the stumbling blocks that we did back in the day.
Yeah. Right. And that's what I try to explain to some of these new guys. I'm like, you don't know what you have. Like, I look at the tools. I still have some of the tools that I started with, and I'm like, how the hell did I fix a dent with that thing? You know, and these guys have all this fancy stuff. And I mean, glue was, I was pushing for a little while before glue came out, you know, before we started really using glue. So it's crazy how technology, I mean, it's fast forwarded now. You know, now I feel like in the last 10 or 15 years, it's been the fast forward button on tools.
You know, and I got to give the credit to really the frontline techs out there, because they took what we started with, you know, back in the day, and they've evolved this whole industry into what it is now, and it's still evolving. You know, these guys are unbelievable stuff. They really are.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tools that techs are coming out with are pretty good.
They are. And I remember getting a James Lee Illuminant light, turning it on. I was like, holy shit, that's like HD television. You know, because I remember my little light when I had with the Wiz, I had a little fluorescent bulb in it and plug it in a cigarette lighter, and it sucked. You know, the lens would break all the time.
I remember breaking my fluorescent bulb light and then having to run to Home Depot.
So with your training with the Wiz, what was your take on that whole process? Obviously you grew with the Wiz, but what was your take from them? You know, their technique, their training style. Well, how did you evolve from that?
At the time, they were the best out there. You know, they were on the leading edge of what we were doing, but they were kind of stuck in, they were worried about lawsuits, so they didn't want to teach anything new. They wanted to stick with their process. So when technicians would, you know, come back for advanced training, you know, I'd pick their brain and ask them what new tools they're using, what new processes. And it was fairly close-minded about anything new. So I documented all that stuff. And that's what I'm teaching now. You know, a lot of the stuff, most of the things that I teach, I learned from technicians in the field and error myself. So they were holding themselves back by being so close-minded with just keeping with their process. And I thought they should have evolved with the industry a little sooner.
Yeah. I mean, some of the tools, and I think I remember when they just started getting Dentcraft hand tools, the smaller red and yellow. And I mean, some of the stuff I had, and it's crazy because Dave Johnson's still a Dent Wizard tech. And a couple years ago, I was over his house and he opened up this tool bag, and it had some relics. I mean, they should go to the PDR Hall of Fame, because I was like, God damn, we fixed stuff with that. Even the whale tails, like some of their Dent Wizard made whale tails, you just were like, how do we use these?
I remember the first whale tail they sent to me. They said, well, now we can get behind braces. That was the tool they ever had. And I didn't know you had to bend it. I jammed it down in a door, made a ridge, cracked the paint, pulled it out, threw it back in my box, and I was never going to use it again. So, with the help of guys like Dave Shutt out there, Tony Massimino, we all kind of collaborated a lot, and those guys helped me, in the beginning to kind of figure out that we had to evolve away from what we were trained to do. And, that's, like I say, that's how it's grown into what it is now. The guys that they weren't satisfied with doing a quarter size dent, they said, well, if I can fix a quarter size dent, why not $50? So that's what I say. They're fixing train wrecks out there that's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I look at what they do and I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, some of this stuff's pretty amazing.
Now, when you were with the Wiz, obviously, were they allowing you to implement new training techniques and stuff and some of those tools, or?
No, not at all.
So you were stuck.
I kind of did that on the sly with my guys. I lecture, and then I called them off to the side and said, okay, that's Dent Wizard's lecture. Here's what I want you to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we kind of butted heads a lot.
Yeah, I saw Rob last year and at MTE, and he's like, the training you did and the training I do today is not the same training. He's like, it's just not. He's like, it's not half as good as it was, even if the technology was better. I think you guys cared too. Both of you guys had a lot of passion in your students.
Well, our goal is to help the guys survive. Not just teach them how to fix a dent, but to survive out there, because that's a totally different thing when they leave training.
Yeah,
they go out there. That's really when Dent was back in the day. Back then, we used to lose a lot of people whenever they leave class. They could. A lot of them. Well, we lost 30%. In general, pass the course, and then the ones that would get out on the street, we lose half of them because they just couldn't do the work.
That's crazy.
So yeah, Rob, he's the same way. He wants to make sure these guys make it out there. So Rob really goes above and beyond.
Yeah, and I remember when I was in class with you, I think we went to your house. You had some big cats.
Yeah.
He had big cats, boy.
Really?
I mean, yes.
Like exotic cats?
I had African lions and I had mountain lions. And I pushed really hard in class. And at the end of class, I'd bring the guys out to the house to kind of, wind things down a little bit so I could talk to them on a more personal basis, because I kept everything very professional in class.
Yeah.
Didn't really get to talk to them, out of the classroom setting. So I'd bring them out to the house, let them pet the big cats.
They were. I got pictures of them somewhere. They're big cats.
Did you like rescue them, or like? How did you?
Used to just raise them as pets.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was cool. And you know what it did? Everybody, when you went to class at the Wiz, everybody's from all over the place, right? So you take,
Mm-hmm.
God, I don't remember how many people were in our class originally, but you take people from Cali, Texas, Maryland, Canada. You know, we had some guys from Canada in my class, and they're just thrown in this class. Nobody knows anybody. Everybody's stressed that they're just going to get sent home.
Wow.
You're staying in a, you know, what was it? 2 months? Was it 2? Yeah, 2 months. You know, you've got a roommate you just met that you're living with. So those experiences really help kind of break the ice and get it to where you're getting comfortable with your classmates and you can relax, you know, because you're in a different place. I'd never have been to St. Louis before. We didn't know anything. So, you know, it was a really good icebreaker to kind of get it on that level of relax. They're here to help us. And you made some friendships. You know, there's some guys that I see at MT. I'm like, holy shit. You know, it's great to see him 20 some years ago. So that was good.
Well, and you know what? I feel really lucky in the position I'm in because I've made a lot of friends throughout the years doing dents and helping some guys get started. And you know, you make lifelong friendships doing that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, you're exactly right.
Now, how long were you with the Wiz?
Just over 10 years.
Okay.
Wow.
Now, from there, where did you go?
I day one, I opened my school.
Okay.
I told them they offered me a job to stay with them to work the streets, and you know, I told Terry Kebby if I was going to work the streets, I was going to do it for me, not them.
Yeah.
And said, go with my blessing. But you know, I still do dents. I do a lot of dents, but still my passion is helping new guys, you know, and teaching our trade. So that's why I opened up my school and been doing that ever since.
Nice. So if I was a beginner and I called you, how would Dave was telling me you have some type of like really good like payment method or like pay as you go method?
You mean for the tuition?
Yeah, for the to pay for the training.
Well, first I don't just take anybody.
Okay.
I want to make sure it's a good fit for a technician because I get a lot of calls. Guys, say a body shop tech, he sees, you know, a dent guy come in, sees what he makes, calls me up, says, I got a pocket full of money. I want to be a dent guy. Well, you know, I'm going to not take that guy, tell him no, because, you know, he doesn't have any contacts. He doesn't know, you know, how to get in the business. So, yeah, I could train him up, but there's nowhere for him to go. So most of the people I train now have been hired by someone I've trained since I've been around so long. They've been hired by someone I've trained in the past, so they have a place to go and have a route set up, or they're going to chase hail, you know, with their boss or with their dad. So get that squared away first. And our course is 6 weeks, and so I don't require them to pay up front, but I do require them to pay each Monday for each week.
Okay, so you pay by the week?
Yeah.
As you go.
And then if something happens, for some reason they have to drop out, then, you know, if they did, some of them do just go ahead and pay the whole thing. I just reimburse them for the unused part, but I just don't require them to pay everything up front.
That's smart.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's a big deal when someone's trying to stop working in the restaurant industry to be a dent guy or something. You know what I mean?
It's really hard to take off work 6 weeks and then the train. You know, it's kind of a double whammy there. But if they really, really want to do it, they can make it happen. You know, I sold his truck and drove his mom's car to class, and you know, he's doing really well now. So have to really, really want it because it's hard to get into this business.
It is.
Even if you know people, it's really hard to get into the business. But you know, I get asked this question a lot, what's the failure rate? And the failure rate is almost zero if they really want it. They hang on like a bulldog, get out there, and they really, really work hard and do their best to survive out there. They're not going to fail.
No.
They really do.
I think when I first started, I almost quit twice, and I just was like, what else am I going to do, And I needed to do it. My dad owned a body shop, so yeah, I couldn't work with my dad, so he bought me a set of dinking tools when I was in high school. and
You were fixing some shit with those for sure.
Yeah, it was, dude. I remember the triple bend, that the bullet tip tool they had. It was a triple bend, and it wasn't a soft tip. It was all metal. And those Ford Taurus round body lines, dude. I'd chew the dent off on that thing.
That's what I took my, was it Master Tech on a Ford Taurus door. They'd whack it with a big Johnson with a piece of pipe on it. Man, I'm glad I see them on the roads, and I'm like, oh, those cars are the worst.
Right. They are.
So on your interview process, say in a year, how many people do you turn away?
This was a slow year, but last year was a busy year. I probably turned away maybe 40 that came to class. But I just felt like that it wasn't a good fit for them. And after we talked a few times, they'll agree. Once I explain to them exactly what they're getting into, then they pretty much decide not to pursue it if it's a bad fit for them.
That's something with dents is you really need to. I tell people all the time, dent guys or body guys are like, man, I need to learn that, and I'm like, you need to be all in, man.
Yeah,
you need to be live, eat, sleep, drink dents. You've got to, because if not, it's going to take longer and it's hard.
You'd be surprised at how many people want to do it part-time. And just
that's wild.
As well as I do, that won't work.
There's a handful of guys that I know that make it part-time. A handful of guys that I'm like, I don't know how Adam Jones, he watches a show all the time. He was here in Maryland and self-taught, he was a body guy and he did dents on the side and he's doing it full-time now. It's crazy. But he lived it. Now there's some questions in here. Dave is asking, do you remember the guy we sent home, Dave Diplaff, sent home from our class trying to blackmail his roommates?
I know Dave. I don't remember him trying to blackmail his roommates, though. Maybe.
And then Rob Ivy's saying, tell them about you throwing your tools in the creek.
Yeah, I tell him. Class. Yeah, Rob, I believe, was in Omaha, if I'm not wrong about that. I think he went to Omaha. Yeah, Rob's a great guy too. I remember him. There's a lot of guys that I remember because they did something either really good or really bad in class. So yeah, Rob was one of those. So was Dave.
Yeah.
You can ask Dave about the duct tape and the pole in the building. Ask Dave about that.
Oh man,
we had some good times there. We really did.
We did. I tell people all the time, back in the day, it was kind of like boot camp.
It was.
It was serious to the business, man. If you weren't ready to go, you were gonna find out.
And it still is. I still run my class like that because we don't joke around much because I take their future very seriously. And so we work really, really hard the whole time. We really don't waste much time, but I like to do some small things like that they're going to remember and have it. So yeah, whenever I see something coming, we'll capitalize on it. We just don't take guys to the polls anymore.
These days you would go to jail.
Yeah.
A different world.
Right.
Now tool wise, what are you using for tools? Do you set up tool sets for guys to buy, or like how does all that work?
Well, pretty much tools from almost all the manufacturers for them to use. I don't sell tools, and I give them just a handful of some Dentcraft tools, a Stucky light, a small Stucky light. But in week 4, uh, they sit down, we make a wish list of the tools that they want. So I don't really recommend any full set from any company, because, if you buy a set of 20 tools, they're only going to need the longest one, a couple of middle ones, and the shortest one. And they have tools laying around they'll never use. So customize their set after they pretty much know what they're doing. And they'll order their tools, Ultra and so on, A1, Finesse. So they customize their set to, themselves. And really, they're about 90% all the same. Some Hale rods, some Johnsons, that tight access set from Dentcraft that you were talking about, and of course Dentcraft whale tails. And I've just really come out with some working with Ken Garrison. He's making some steel knockdowns for me, and we're going to start issuing those. But I don't really have one set though that I recommend, because I found one basic set out there from one company, because they all have strong suits. They all have good tools.
Yeah. The knockdowns from Ken, can you explain it to us, or not yet?
Well, they're steel. Steel. They're similar to the old Dent Wizard knockdown. I still use my old Dent Wizard knockdown, and Ultra makes a good newer knockdown, but the tip's too flat. So we kind of customized. We got one in between those two, and it's got more of a taper than the old Dent Wizard knockdown. And I'm not trying to get into too many things here, but I mostly use steel knockdowns. We just changed the way we hit, and flip the hammer over and use the rubber side for a more spread out hit. So we use the steel knockdown more than anything else. And we use VIP knockdowns too. And I hold the plastic and Delron, and the guys all practice with that. And we probably got over 100 knockdowns for them to practice with. And then they just pick whichever ones they want. But all of them, whenever they leave, they pretty much stick with their steel.
Yeah,
that's nice.
And one of the real quick, and it's probably not gonna really go anywhere, but I'm working on a magnetic slide hammer instead of glue. Okay. Glue pulls the paint, and the magnet is going to pull the steel from beneath the paint. So we're working on that. I don't know how far we're going to get, but
that's interesting.
Pretty excited.
That is interesting.
That's awesome. Are you working on that with Ken?
No.
Okay.
Just my brother and I are working on that.
That's cool. Now a question in here: what is one thing that most of your students struggle with?
You know what? There's not one thing that stands out. They all have their little thing. I'd say glue pulling, maybe. If we had more time in class, we'd do more glue pulling. And I'd say the number one feedback I get is they wish they could do more of that. So it just varies so much.
Yeah.
When they have issues with glue pulling, do you think it's like knocking it down, like using the knockdown, or the time they leave the glue, or?
Well, they, if they want a harder pull, they need a bigger puck sometimes, or they let the glue, need to let it set up a little harder or pull it. Or, it's a lot about timing with that glue. And it's, the guys with shorter arms have a hard time knocking down the crowns and knocking down whenever they, overpull. glues. Really try not to overpull. We try to just not go past 110% when we glue pull, because
Right.
pull it up much more than that, you're going to really have trouble. So they have
You're
a
gonna
hard to pull it.
Yeah. I remember watching videos of guys glue pulling and like you yank a big high and it's like a 30-40 minute knockdown session after that. But some guys are good at it.
Josh is.
I'd rather
I'll tell
pull
you.
it level, and
Yeah.
and
Now, are
not do
you
that.
teaching much blending
We
with
do.
a blending hammer?
We do. Now there's two definitions of blending though, and I just talked to one of my newer guys 3 days ago about that. He was excited to tell me something new that he learned. Um, on a rail, if there's a small dent in a rail, you can tap down the edges around that dent and make it disappear. But some guys have tapped that rail down flat, so you have a big flat spot in the rail. So I'm careful to distinguish the two. I want the guys to know the difference, so they're not just beating a curved rail down flat to get rid of a dent. If there's a dent there, I tell them just go ahead and pull it. So if you were talking about blending like the crowns down or blending your overpull, yeah, we do that. We start out though just doing the ones that if you can reach them with a knockdown and a hammer,
Yeah.
and then once they get better and they can see better, then we get them back with the blending hammers. We might use two hammers, hit one with the other,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
might just free swing the other one. And yeah, we do some of that, but maybe not as much as they'd like to do. But you know what? We have other fish to fry in class too.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's one thing that kind of goes with the turn of time. When I learned dents forever, I was never taught to blend with a hammer, blending
Yeah, me
hammer,
neither.
like on a rail. I'm still learning. I'm not the best blender. On a crown, I'll use a hammer, nice nylon with a leather insert in it to really get crowns delay, or the crown
Mhm.
jewel knockdown hammer. But using a blending hammer on a rail, I'm not good at it.
Well, back when you went through class, we didn't even know those crowns existed. We couldn't even.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you think
I'll-
that's lighting?
A lot. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of it, and knowing what to look for. Like in class, if I let a guy look at his dent and if he made say 3 high spots, I go, okay, show me what you did in there. Well, if I just let him look on his own, usually they say, well, you know what, I can only see one of those. But then once I point them out, then they can see all 3. So back in the early 2000s, we didn't know these crowns existed, and we didn't even know to move our light back far enough, 4 or 6 feet, and put it in finished position so we could actually still see what was in there. We didn't know light, and we had those old fluorescent lights, and you couldn't see that anyway.
No.
Yeah.
Those LED lights were, like Ryan says, HD television when that came out.
A guy named Brent trained years ago. I met up with him in Phoenix at that big.
What was his name?
Brent Cole.
Brent Cole.
And when I walked in the shop he was working in, within a minute of me seeing his his light in there, I was on the phone calling. That was a Pro PDR Solutions light. I was on the phone ordering one.
Wow.
After first seeing it, yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Wow.
What are you using glue wise? Is there a special glue that you're using with these guys that you like to train with?
Well, I have some of most all of them, really. Not everything, because there's too many out there, but I have a lot of the different colors, and I just let them try everything, and on the different time of the day, the different temperature outside, the humidity, barometric pressure, and all of that stuff. We just practice with it all, and we use Walmart glue, the cheap Aero glue.
Yeah, I used to use it.
That's the best glue out there on some.
I used to use it.
Yeah, so we just use everything and let them try it all, really.
Now, are you doing some advanced training?
I do some.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've had several ex-Wizard technicians call me and say, you know what, you trained me back in 2000. I've been doing this for a long time. I can only, I'm an 80% technician. I can't finish my dents. So I tell them usually, I say, you know what, I can save you some time and money. I can tell you, I can fix that over the phone. Make sure they have a good light and move it to finished position and get back, 4 feet. We call it the 4-foot rule here in class. If they just use the 4-foot rule, move their light in the right place and have a good light, then they're going to see it and they can finish. So that's the number one thing that that the advanced guys out there, 6, 8, 10-year techs, if they're not finishing their dents, it's just light position.
So would you recommend using a stand light over any small light on the car?
Well, it depends on where they're working. We work outside too, so we use reflection boards outside.
Okay.
And if it's a cloudy day, we can use like the small lights, the ones that have a stripe on them. So if it gets cloudy, they can use that and turn the light on, or they can flip the lens over and just use the stripe. But inside, really, the big light is better because you're going to move it farther back. The guys move those small lights near enough, and that's one thing to do is keep that light smoking.
Yeah,
we use a lot of the ultra stands, the little base that has a Medusa set up for a limited. Put the light on there, and you can move that thing for a mini light. You can move it all over. We like them in body shops with like a freshly painted door that they missed a dent, or there's a high spot, so you leave the ring.
Yeah, I'm mobile, and I've used a small light for a long time. I've always had a big light, but I usually used it for like hail or really big damage. But I bought the new Stucky light. It's so light, the battery's in the light, and I can't. I'm using it all the time now. I'm not using my small light as much anymore. So because of that, I can like move it far away, and it doesn't fall off the car when I suction to it.
Yeah, and I do 2 of those, so I use those too. But it just depends on how long you're going to be on the dent too, because if you have a lot of work to do in that damage, those longer lights, like a 36-inch or even a 40 light, you can scan that light and see so much more.
Yeah, you could get more done before you move the light.
Yeah, and it kind of helps cross check, so you can see so much more in the bigger lights than you can the small ones. So they all have their use. The small ones are really good outside though.
Yeah,
the small ones.
Yeah.
So you're mainly you do a lot of Stucky lights, the mini Stuckies.
I like those lights. Yeah.
It's got a good fade.
Yeah, I have a mini. I used to do a lemon dent, but I bought Stucky's big 36-inch light, and then I bought his mini light, and I love it. So it's a good light.
If you have any tip for a new guy that's struggling out there, that's fairly new in the business, what would it be?
Get proper. Get proper training.
Proper training.
Yeah, there's so many guys trying to do it themselves, and there's even been a little Facebook group that they were encouraging guys to what I'm talking about. You can't do that.
Yeah,
they just to get the proper training in the long run. It sounds expensive, but they're going to make up the money in the long run, and they're not going to. There's no sense in making the same mistakes that we did. They can really eliminate a lot of the mistakes just by getting proper training. So a new guy, that's what he needs to do first is get trained.
And that's the biggest thing. I tell people all the time, my story is kind of unique with me getting sued by the Wiz. It cost me $7,700, and people are like, God damn. I'm like, you don't understand. We make doctor money. I can't go to doctor school for $7,000. Like, this is an investment in yourself. You can't go to college for 20, 30 grand. you're going to make it back. I think so. So many people are just scared of that initial impact of, man, training's going to be 17,000 or whatever it is. After you get through it, you understand it, but it's that initial start.
Oh yeah.
And I think it makes you accountable. I think when I spoke to you years ago, and one of your things were it keeps the student accountable. They feel accountable because they're invested at that point. Correct?
Well, I do have different clientele here at my school than I did back at Dent Wizard because they didn't have any skin in the game. They were paid to be there. They had a truck and a gas card, and a per diem, and everything was paid for them. So they really didn't realize the position they were in.
Yeah.
But the guys that are coming to my class now, they have to pay for their own training. And they're looking at me like, what are you going to do me? Are you going to do me justice here? And I like that.
Yeah.
It's a whole different setup now than it was back then. So
and it's funny. I was at the Hail Expo and I ran into a fairly new. His name's Brandon. He has a dent company in Missouri somewhere. I don't remember the name of the company, but he was like, yeah, he's like, Mike would talk about you in the class, but I saw him last year at MTE and he was just like, man, Mike's the best trainer. And I'm like, I know, and I think it also helps that you kind of mentor them also.
Yeah, we keep in touch. I keep in touch with a lot of the technicians out there. They either have advice to give me to make the training better, or they call me for, they might have forgotten something that they learned in class, or just ask me questions. And that's, I feel like that's part of the deal. I need to help. If I can, I will.
Yeah.
It's fun. I love this country.
It's a good country.
I think we spoke before the show, but no MTE for you this year, correct?
No, not this year. It just, everything's getting so expensive, and I don't want to raise my prices. So I've decided not to have a booth this year because I want to keep my prices affordable for the guys that want to come to class. And, if I spend too much money, I can't do that.
Are you going to come just and walk, or are you?
Yes, this year. I'm going to take a break from MTE this year, and I'll be there next year.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, Mike, I really appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate what you've done for me in my career. And I think you're good for the industry. You know what I mean? Because
100%.
You know what you're going to get. It's not some fly by night. Hey, hit a hood with a block of wood, and I'll be back in 3 hours, guy. You're invested in each one of your students, so it's nice to see that you're still passionate about it, and you still care about guys like me that you trained 20 some years ago.
Well, thanks for the kind words, you guys. I really appreciate it.
Where can people find you?
We're at Gateway Dent, the Gateway Dent Training Center, and the email is gatewaypdrtraining@yahoo.com, or they can call me directly 314-775-9904. That's the best way to get a hold of me.
Well, I appreciate everything, Mike.
Real quick, Dave Schlatt says, let's open Gateway Southwest Division.
In Phoenix, right?
In Phoenix, yep.
Right there. I'll have to call him and talk about that.
Oh yeah.
Another guy,
He's
25 years in.
I'll tell you what. If Dave told me you were the best trainer in his opinion for a beginner, and I mean that's huge because Dave's been all over the world and seen a lot of dent guys. So
Dave's a great guy, and he helped me out when I was new. I couldn't figure out a lot of things, and Dave really was a big influence on me. So I appreciate everything he did for me, and he's, like you said, he's a good friend.
Yeah. He's a big influence on me too. I think I was fixing dents for $45 when I met David. He was like, "What are you doing?" He fixed that real quick, you know.
Yeah, that's Dave.
Well, Mike, you have a great night. It's sad that I'm not going to see you this year.
Well,
Just have to make a trip out to you one day, maybe.
I'll hold you to it.
Do you still have mountain lions as pets? And
I don't right now.
no,
I still do falconry. I train hawks and eagles.
okay.
And I don't have any birds right now, but this time next year I will.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yep. So you guys will have to come out and go hunting with us.
Definitely.
Sounds like
I'll
fun.
be there.
See you later,
Thanks for
Mike.
coming
Thank you
on.
very much.
See you guys. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Told you it was going to be a good one.
I know that was a good show.
It was.
He's a good dude.
He did
I
a
like
lot,
him.
man. He did a lot for me, I learned a lot, and he's really, really good at his delivery and how to break things down.
Yeah. I'm gonna get one of his. I'm gonna learn how to do falconry, and like any of my competition comes to my lots, I just
Bro,
send my
you should
falcon at
see
'em,
it.
you know?
I'm gonna dig those pictures up. It's they were big cats, like big
Dude,
cats.
that is so cool. Like,
And we would get in the
I-
cages with them and pet them, and it
Dude,
was awesome. It was a amazing time because it really took the group of guys that
wow.
were from all over the country, all over the world, and really kind of bonded us. It was amazing
Yeah.
experience.
That is awesome.
There's not a whole lot that I remember, but I do remember that, So
I tried to bring up buy a lynx, like a big African cat, and my wife lost it. Like, it's like, nope. It was when I was bringing Tiger King to
she's like
Vegas,
"They bite people's
and I was like,
faces
I need to buy this cat so I can bring it to Vegas.
Oh my god, that was crazy.
That was fun.
That was crazy. A little drop. I am speaking for Dr. Color Chip again on Thursday at Education Day. Should be some pretty good information given out this year. And we have Podcast Row. So we launched the schedule for that today. So should be exciting. I'm really excited to see everybody. So if you see me,
It's
make
gonna
sure
be a
you
good show.
say hi or flick me off or whatever you want to do. Big hugs, but appreciate all you guys for watching. Let's keep it real.
Yep.
And like I said, everybody think about the Miracle family on Saturday. He's being laid to rest. So we will drink some at MT for him. So you guys have a fantastic evening. I appreciate you watching, and we will see you next week. We got a little MTE, pre-MTE coming on with some new tools dropping so you can get them at MTE. So I wanted to get a little sneak peek out there with a couple of the guys. So,
Oh yeah.
Alex, I will chat with you.
See you, Ryan.
Bye-bye.
Have a good Friday. Have a good
Tomorrow
Friday.
is Friday. It is. It's been a weird week. I'm still kind of like trying to figure it out with the holidays really screwed me up.
Yeah, I haven't figured it out since I've been back from hunting. So, yeah,
Have a good night. I will see you guys later.
have a good one.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Dent Digest. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. For more information or to connect with your hosts, find them on social media at RPS Dent Specialist and at Arizona Paintless Dent Repair. If you found value in today's episode, please share with others. And until next time, this has been the Dent Digest.